Yeah, so Tucker Carlson and this guy, I forgot his name. I guess Israel they're over there training their dogs to shoot guns. Well, I mean they're not training the dogs to shoot guns, but they're manning the gun, but they're gonna mount it on a dog. So they're training the dogs to go into buildings and stuff, all while having the gun strapped to their back, and then while you're in some remote area somewhere in an office, you can control the fire and you know eliminate. Let's see what they talk about, Tucker Carlson. That's crazy work. You got a dog. He got a M60 on his back, and you could just be at the laptop. Send my dog in. Call him back in. That's kind of hard. I ain't gonna lie. It's scary to think Israel got it though, and that's crazy work. That's crazy work right there. Got a protein shake. Let's get into it though.
So the New York Times recently ran a piece saying that Palestinian prisoners had been raped with dogs in Israeli prisons, and the response in the American media, to the extent there was.
Hold on. He just said raped with dogs. See, hold on now. You ain't tell us that now. You ain't that was nowhere in the. So not only now are they talking about guns mounted on the dog, they talking about also they over there using the dogs to rape people.
Response was to accuse the writer of blood libel against all Jews. This is like accusing rabbis of poisoning wells. It was basically Nazi propaganda. That was the response. Does that sound plausible to you?
It does sound plausible. I did not hear any examples of that, but what I have heard about and what I've taken detailed testimonies of are some of the most appalling examples of torture. So one of my friends who was tortured for 60 days in a prison talked about how I've heard no examples of dogs raping the prisoners, but I have heard multiple examples of the dogs being used as weapons. You'll be familiar with the drone warfare there, the quadcopters with cameras and guns. Well, they have dogs who are trained to go into the hospitals with cameras and guns on their back and attacking people. And my colleague, of whom I took a detailed testimony, has described that in great detail.
Dogs with guns on their backs?
Dogs with cameras and guns on their backs and being trained to go into hospitals and shoot people. And I've heard multiple examples of that. So
of a living dog?
Living dogs who are trained. They go in, they go into wherever, and then there's someone remotely controlling the camera and the guns, and then they are.
If you told me that it happened in a North Korean prison camp, I would have trouble believing you. You're saying the Israeli government did this?
Well, I'm telling you what I have taken testimony of a friend of mine who witnessed this on multiple occasions.
What do people you live still in Britain, what do people in the UK say when you tell them this?
So I talk a lot about this. I felt this obligation, having witnessed all these atrocities, that I feel I have to share this with everyone. I've done a lot of media interviews. I've done a lot of lectures at medical conferences, at lay people's conferences, and I've met a lot of our senior politicians. And I'm not alone. A lot of people have done this. A lot of my colleagues have done this. A lot of US doctors have done this. I mean, US doctors, British doctors, we've all publicly written to our governments. A few of us wrote a very detailed dossier with photographic and written evidence of what we'd seen. We presented it to our Prime Minister. We submitted it to all the cabinet ministers, so they know what's going on. I visited Washington, D.C. in the early part of this and met members of the Biden administration, with friends of mine from Med Global, a wonderful US NGO. We went and gave this evidence. We took enlarged, laminated colour photographs of babies who'd been shot in the head, of children who'd lost their limbs, of children who'd been starved to death. Literally, we've described this to the Biden administration. I've been to several meetings in our government, including one with the Prime Minister, where we've described what's been going on, and it's had no impact at all.
What was your meeting with Biden officials like? What did they say?
Some of them were by and large very receptive. So we went to we met various senators as well, but then we met members of the administration. They were very receptive. We clearly met people lower down the chain. We did meet Samantha Power. She was the most senior, who I was very impressed with. We got a very good reception and very sympathetic reception. Of course, none of this goes anywhere, so we don't see any actions at the end of that. But by and large, the US politicians we met were very sympathetic, but of course, it had no impact whatsoever.
Samantha Power became famous for writing a book on genocide, how we can never allow it again, and then she allowed it again. So your friend who was raped to death, your friends who were tortured, why were they detained and tortured?
The way you see an idea in your mind.
I think this is there's a clear disproportion of senior healthcare workers who've been taken compared to junior healthcare workers. My presumption is, I mean, I can tell you a lot of facts about what's happened there. My interpretation is my opinion. It would seem to me, and many others who've witnessed all of this, that this has been a deliberate policy to destroy the healthcare system.
Well, can you give us a specific example of someone you know who was detained and tortured, and what were the circumstances? How does that happen?
So they're arrested within the hospitals. So my two colleagues, one of them was arrested in the Indonesian hospital, one of them was arrested in Nassau hospital. The Israeli military invade the hospitals. They, what would appear to be fairly arbitrarily, arrest some, let others go, predominantly males. They are then taken off, and I'll describe what happened to the last testimony I took. He was with about 20 or 30 other healthcare workers put in a big pit, an underground pit with no covering. They were stripped naked down to their underwear. They were blindfolded. They were handcuffed. They were left in a pit in the ground for 2 to 3 days. Then they were taken off to an Israeli prison. They were left blindfolded. They were left handcuffed. They were beaten those first few days non-stop for 12 hours at a time. Many other forms of torture we've described about all along. One of my close friends, who's one of the senior deans in the medical school there, was abducted and taken away. He was only taken for, I think, 10 days and then released. But there are so many examples.
How old is he?
He is, I guess, late 50s. Oh. Yeah, I mean, and there are photographs.
Not of militant age.
Not of militant age, absolutely. Absolutely.
And what was the justification?
Well, so they were continually being grilled about, what about them being Hamas members and what they had done and all that sort of stuff. Now, there are some, Hussam Abu Safir, who's the director of Kamal Adwan Hospital, was abducted over a year ago. Now he's still under detention in an Israeli prison. His lawyers can't get in news about him. There are many people who are still there. We can only speculate as to why they are being taken and why they're being tortured, but it seems the deliberate, disproportionate detention of healthcare workers and killing of health workers compared to other civilians speaks to me that there is a deliberate policy of undermining, of destroying the whole healthcare system.
Are they charged with crimes? Put on trial?
Oh, no. None of them are charged. None of them are charged. These are all people who are detained without charge.
So just completely lawless.
But that's been happening for, as you will know, for decades in the Palestinian territories. There are thousands of Palestinian in the West Bank who've been in prison without charge. So this has been happening for a long time. But certainly the ones that I have interviewed and the ones I've known who've been told, no, there were no charges at all.
And a lot of these are just adult men with families.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of them were sort of the age range of the people I know were from probably early 20s to late 50s.
It's shocking.
It is shocking
to me.
And having seen this, having witnessed this is why I think it is important that we tell everyone what's going on, because this is not what we're hearing from our Western media, from our governments. Despite many attempts of foreign doctors who have been there to speak out and tell them.
Well, some of the accounts are so shocking that the military just rolls into a hospital, abducts senior physicians, and then rapes them in prison with no charges. It's kind of hard to believe that could be true, given that Israel is regarded by, I think, most people in the United States as a civilized country. Maybe you disagree with their influence over our politics, but like, it's Israel. It's not that different from us. You're describing totally uncivilized, evil behavior, organized behavior.
I don't know where Tucker Carlson has been at, because even I've seen the videos of how a lot of those Israeli kids over there in Israel are even brought up and are raised to hate Palestinians. Like, they're born and raised to hate them children. It's all like, I don't know, Tucker Carlson, man. Come on now. I hope this is just for the show, Jack. Surprise, but even I know that. I've seen it.
I'm describing what I have either seen or what close friends have told me. And the volume of accounts that I have read, heard are overwhelming. And to me, that the amount of volume of reports coming out tells me very clearly this is happening.
Now, we care about supporting companies whose values align with ours. We do not want to shill for sleazy companies. It is better to give business to like-minded Americans than people who hate us. That's
All right, so that's that, y'all. I'm sure some of y'all aren't surprised at, I was surprised at, the training. You're not really surprised at the heinous, horrific things that are going on. They two have been going at it for centuries. You can go look up documentaries and things of that nature. But what did surprise me is their training with those type of tactics. They got the mounts. They starting to use mounts now. Mess around, you put the mount on the dogs. Next thing you know, they gonna have mounts on, trying to put mounts on birds, and they ain't bucking. They really, like, I don't know, man. That's crazy work. But we prayed up over here. They ain't stopping nothing. It's just interesting to see what they, training. Like, it ain't gonna work, man. That sounds crazy. It might. The dog thing might work. Like, you send the dog in there. My thing is, what's gonna happen when the dog start hearing the shots right on top of his back? He gonna bug out? You feel me? I don't know. But y'all get them in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think, man. Let me know what y'all think, man. Would you mount your dog with a gun on it? Or would you even have dogs specifically for mounting guns on them? Do you think it'll work? How would you use them? Do you think this is something that's coming, in the future? Let me know, man. We on the front line. More reactions coming all day, man. This is Tucker Carlson. Go check out his network, man. Till next time. Salute.